Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking out a fun and exciting video for you guys today because it's a follow-up to my main .278 is out video. We're going to be testing some of the improvements in some of the other games you want to know if they've changed since the most recent version. And we're starting right off with Raising Ping Pong here on the Taito Type Zero arcade PCB. And just so you are aware, the Type Zero is not the same as when you think of Type X and things such as that. This is a custom bespoke silicon board that basically is absolutely complex, has a ton of fun games, and barely does anything on MAME outside of MAME .278 today. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and hit notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. And interestingly enough, all of the games I'm going to be testing today in this video are arcade PCBs I do own. So when they start playing a little bit better, I'll be able to compare them to real hardware and just see how things are working. And every once in a while, one of the MAME developers comes to me and asks for footage off real hardware so they can compare the emulation to it, especially when there aren't any real arcade hardware captures on YouTube. So I'm always willing to help with the ridiculous amount of arcade hardware I've collected, because if you don't know me and the channel, my focus is on 3D arcade boards that don't emulate well or at all in MAME. That way I can enjoy them and show them off to you guys. So this Type Zero motherboard right here with this custom Taito silicon on board that's going to be handling all the graphics is what got improved in MAME .278. And obviously we've already had PowerPC emulation within MAME because we have other boards that use both the PowerPC architecture as well as the 603E CPU specifically. So those are things that MAME are already running, and it kind of comes down to the 3D hardware on board that I just showed you. And the one game that's showing signs of life both on my MAME installation as well as the moderator of my Discord, the Cool Pups installation, is Raising Ping Pong. And when I say this is the deep and hard mode of emulation, I 100% mean it. This custom silicon basically has no documentation out there whatsoever, and it is complex as far as how it actually works is concerned. And why do you see one game run and the rest of the games don't do anything? It could just be a specific call to the hardware that's not yet included in the emulation. And Taito, shame, don't write profiles like this, it's a little bit creepy. But all jokes aside, you'll see here, obviously this is non-final emulation on the hardware side of things for the 3D chip, because you don't really see what you should be seeing here. But it is still massive signs of life compared to where we were before, and that makes a big difference. Now on some games you're going to see, like Battle Gear right here, I get as far as the title menu and then everything locks up. And if you want to test this, just basically hold down the speed up key. It can take 3 to 4 minutes for this actually to get into game, and then suddenly everything will spring to life, so now you know that's how you do it. But I am looking forward to a day when the Type Zero arcade PCBs do emulate well in MAME, because trust me, these are incredibly rare cabinets. The one you're most likely to see, and even that would be rare, would be something like Battle Gear or Battle Gear 2. Outside of that, Stunt Typhoon and Stunt Typhoon Lost, Landing High Japan, those games are just basically extinct at this point in time, so it really is down to MAME to preserve them, because not everyone is stupid like I am. They don't have a closet filled with arcade PCBs they can't manage to fit. Don't be like me, just wait for MAME. Now moving over to another arcade platform that I get asked about every single time a new MAME release comes out, that is the Konami Cobra. And I've shown you this thing on the channel more than once. It is the thorn in my side, the bane of my existence. This board is an absolute piece of shit that just basically taunts me every single time I even so much as look at it. I've spent dozens upon dozens of hours trying to fix this absolute garbage piece of silicon and PCB right here, and I am still nowhere closer than I was when I started. I think that's why everyone asked me about this game, because the reality is you are never going to get to play it on its original hardware. There's about 3 PCBs out there in the wild that I know of, and only one sometimes works. So this game may very well be well on its way to becoming completely extinct as far as real hardware is concerned, and Konami's never going to port this thing home. And it is running in MAME. Obviously not many improvements since recent chats, but part of this video is just me testing the thing you guys want to see, because when it comes to MAME updates, not everyone goes through all of the different commits. So hopefully this is something we will see some more movement on soon, because I think it would also benefit something like 3DO M2 emulation in MAME on the PowerPC side of things. It seems to be that there is some stuttering when it comes to audio and performance down to PowerPC, and this is what the game sounds like. It's good but not great, and I'll be right back with more. Honestly, it's not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but that's about as well as you're going to be able to hear a game like Fighting Bujitsu until the emulation is buttoned up, because these arcade boards break themselves so much as if you look at them wrong. And honestly, there's only one person in the world that can probably play the game on real hardware, and I'm not included amongst them because mine is broken. Now, keeping in the nuclear family here and talking about MAME.278 updates, this is the Power Type JC board from Taito, and this is Operation Tiger, a game that I hunted for forever, and a game that a lot of people always ask me about on the emulation front. And if you can't tell a theme yet today, this is also a PowerPC 603E CPU, and some of the 3D silicon on board here is very similar to the Type Zero that did see improvements in MAME, and every time there's a new version of this emulator, people always ask me if Operation Tiger is doing better, and I'm so happy to see that my fascination with this weird janky 3D hardware also extends out to my viewing audience, because it is hardware that deserves a lot of love, and this was basically an arcade era in which none of these games got ported home, and all of the hardware is basically extinct unless it's Sega Model 2 or 3 equipment, or Namco System 22 or 23. Now, this is footage of Operation Tiger, the introductory sequence, running in MAME.278, and honestly, it seems to be doing everything that my arcade PCB would do, outside of the fact that it has absolutely no audio emulation whatsoever. That's one of those things. You can play this game, you're just going to have to play it deaf and mute because it doesn't have any audio. Once you actually get into the game, you're going to see, just like we've seen with all of the other PowerPC emulation on this video, including Type Zero, which did see commits in MAME.278, there is this weird staccato stuttering. We're seeing that in something like the Konami Cobra, we're seeing it in this board right here, we're seeing it in Type Zero, and we even see it on the 3DO M2 arcade side of things. So it seems like maybe in the future, this is something that could be alleviated, maybe with some recode or improvements on the PowerPC architecture, depending on what board is using it and what it is doing, because every single time I get hit here, it's not going to run smoothly, it's going to stutter, and honestly the aim was off, but I didn't even bother to try to correct that, because clearly this is an experience that you would want to play. But it is a game you guys always ask about, and it is still in that same nuclear family of something like the Type Zero, just an earlier version of that hardware, because from the Type JC to the PowerPC Type JC to Type Zero, you have basically very similar hardware on it. Just think of it as an evolution of different generations, and this is what the game would look like running on real hardware, and it still isn't the smoothest thing in the world. It still is a little bit janky, but you can obviously tell the motion's a lot better than you see in MAME, and that's why I love doing these update videos and talking about games that kind of work, because it gets you excited to think about them. Maybe it gets the developer out there excited to actually work on it again, because these are important games, they are fun games, they're games that definitely are worth playing. But outside of one arcade in Japan and one arcade in France that someone recently sent me a photo of, Operation Tiger is basically an extinct game unless you own a PCB in your home, or if you take a flight to Japan or France and drive to the right arcades. And again, this has absolutely no sound emulation, something that should be coming hopefully soon, but this is what Operation Tiger would sound like if you have an original PCB and you're an idiot like I am. So enjoy.
I infiltrate the enemy and spread false information. Your comrades are still alive. I'll take you to the guerrilla hideout where they're being held, and we can try to rescue them. Let's go!
I mean, that's got sound, but that's because that's an original capture from an original PCB. Now moving over to something that does tie in, although not as much as the rest of this footage. This is going to be side by side here, and this is running on the Type JC without the PowerPC variant. That means it's actually using a Motorola 68040 CPU. So as far as actual emulation is concerned, we've gotten off the PowerPC area here, and we've moved over to a Motorola code base, which definitely is something that is running better in MAME. And even though this is the first in that series of boards, Type JC, Type Power JC, and then Type Zero, it still has similarities, at least in the 3D silicon, and that's what happens when you actually start writing emulation in MAME or any other platform. If there is a family where the chips evolve, there's something in this code base that is probably going to be useful to carry forward into something like the Type Zero raising ping pong footage we saw, and that is again why I love collecting all of this stupid hardware, because outside of an emulator like MAME, it's just not really going to be possible for you to actually sit down and enjoy it. These things are big, they're bulky, they basically always require at least some sort of custom control harness to be made by you, and good luck finding something like the actual wiring diagram. 9 times out of 10, unless it's a very popular game, it doesn't exist, and you're going to sit around with a multimeter in your hand, reverse engineering the entirety of the pinout and making sure you get it right because you don't get a second chance, just to play a game that you could load up and play in MAME if the emulation was just complete. And that's kind of why I love doing this video series. I want you guys to get excited about this hardware and the games on it, because that's what drives the emulation writers forward, the people that are coding these things, and make them decide, you know what, this is a platform worth checking out. Like I said, even though it's 68040 base versus PowerPC, it is still a fun time, and this is what it looks like today in MAME, and this definitely is improved since the last time I took a look at it, because last time basically a second on the timer, it took about 2 seconds to actually count down. I was playing around a little bit with frame skip, because sometimes this game seems to run at 10% speed until you actually hit frame skip once and then turn it back off, and that seems to basically cause it to run at what would seem to be a native speed, because if you count down those ticks on the clock, maybe it's slightly too fast, but definitely way better than it used to be. And that is again just improvements we've seen since the last time I took a look at side by side in MAME. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me if you ever played any of the games you've seen in this video. These are definitely the deep cut stuff, raising ping pong, stuff like side by side, Operation Tiger, fighting Bujutsu. I'm assuming that pretty much everyone watching these things has never actually played them on real hardware, outside of maybe something like Battle Gear, or even landing gear right here. Again, on the Type JC, it does run, it is corrupted, but it is better than the last time I took a look at it. And honestly, that is exciting, because if you think about all of the 2D arcade boards out there, all the popular ones, they basically almost all emulate perfectly in MAME, or a few of them have a couple graphical glitches outside of a few Konami boards where the hardware just isn't done yet. But even seeing Type Zero run and give you footage like this in something like MAME is a massive improvement. I understand it's not playable, there's graphical corruption, you have no audio in these things. This is not the type of thing that you would sit down and play and have fun with, but it shows forward progress on these rare arcade boards, and it's always fun to take a look at how the sausage gets made, and you know I love to say that. But short of that, leave me a comment down below, tell me what's the one board you'd love to play more than any other today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.